Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne. Thank you so much for choosing me to facilitate this 30-minute well-being workshop. I'm just going to share my screen right now to load up the presentation and start it from the beginning. Excellent. It's called Self-Care is Not Selfish. And as we go through this workshop, you'll understand why this is. So I'm Andreena Leeanne. I'm a lived experience speaker. I speak about intersectionality, which helps to create a kinder and more inclusive workplaces. I'm also a well-being workshop facilitator. I facilitate well-being workshops specifically on self-care, like this one really, to remind people to look after their well-being in order to remain productive and avoid burnout. No one wants to get to burnout, do they? I am the author of Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. This fantastic poetry book, which was published in October 2020 and shortlisted for a Polari First Book Prize in 2021. I'm also the founder and host of Poetry LGBT Open Mic Night, which is an open mic night I started in January 2015. I host regular virtual and in-person events for the LGBT community so that we can express ourselves through poetry and spoken word. You can hear more about Poetry LGBT and follow Poetry LGBT on Facebook and Instagram at Poetry LGBT. In 2020, I was shortlisted for a National Diversity Award for Positive LGBT Role Model. In 2021, I became a trustee of a charity called Action Break Silence, whose mission is to end violence against women and girls. And I am also the member of the Professional Speaking Association and a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts. So that's enough about me. Let's get on with this workshop. So it's 30 minutes, it's interactive, it's actually a writing for well-being workshop. I'll explain more about that in a minute, but the writing is actually a tool that I'm going to teach you so that you can use journaling as a form of self-care. So the workshop is designed to help you boost your well-being by exploring practical self-care strategies to promote your own self-care. And we'll cover a range of topics with opportunities for you to participate throughout the session through various writing prompts. And hopefully you'll leave the workshop with a better understanding of what self-care is and will have found some tips and strategies that you can use in your everyday life to help you. And the goal is to empower you to prioritize your self-care and make positive changes that support your health and happiness so that you can flourish in your life because you are important and there will only ever be one you, which is really important to know. The clue is in the name, self-care, self, but just notice how I have made you and your in that last statement so bold and underlined because this is all about you and your well-being. And we'll talk about why that's important throughout this workshop. So there will be a few writing prompts, some timed writing prompts. We'll start off by finding out what self-care means for you, what self-care is and why it's important. And we'll have a look at this self-care wheel as well. So there's not many materials needed for this workshop. You need something to write with and something to write on. So pen and paper, pencil and paper, crayon paper, anything that you feel inspired to write with. You can use a laptop, notebook, computer, anything that you feel comfortable to write with. Also, I would like to encourage you to get comfortable. Be comfortable in this space. Right now, I'm sitting down with a nice fluffy rug under my feet, and I've also got a mug of peppermint tea, which I'll be sipping on throughout this workshop. And yeah, that's part of my self-care, even facilitating this half an hour with you, just making sure I'm comfortable while I'm doing this. So the first writing prompt I would like to invite or introduce to this workshop, I would like you to list words associated with self-care. For 1 minute, I'm going to just set the timer for 1 minute. You'll hear it beep when the minute's over. Um, but yeah, list as many words as you want. And also, I think this is a nice time to just say that this is not a writing competition. We're not trying to find the best writer or anything like that. I just want you to just feel free to be able to express yourself in a way that feels right for you. So the timer starts now. We've got 15 seconds left. Thank you for taking the time to do that. So I have listed a couple of words here. You may have written down some of these words. Some of these words might resonate with you. But that was a nice introduction, really, just to get the creative juices flowing. So I've come up with reflection, sanity, wellness, rest, sleep, food, exercise, music, affirmations, mindfulness, relaxation, peace of mind, learning, dance, walk, bath, nourishment, meditation, connection, love, honesty, calm, holiday, water, purposeful, intentional, forgiveness, boundaries, pampering, nature, sunshine, and of course, I've included wine. Yes, those are words associated with self-care. Excellent. Wine of an evening. We can resonate. The next writing prompt I would like is for you to take 3 minutes just to explore and write down what self-care means for you. It can be a letter, a script, a list. It can be anything. It could be a paragraph. It could be a few words, anything that you want to write for the next 3 minutes. Remember, it's not a competition. This is you and your journal, your pen and paper, or your device that you're using. This is about you. So for 3 minutes, starting from now, self-care for me means. What does self-care mean for you? got 1 minute left. Thank you for taking the time to do that. It's a bit of self-reflection, to find out what self-care means for you, what your understanding of self-care is. So, what is self-care? So, the Oxford Dictionary says self-care is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. It's the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. And why is self-care important? So self-care encourages you to maintain a healthy relationship with yourself so that you can transmit the good feelings to others. You cannot give to others what you don't have for yourself. Like, how many of us actually experience burnout before we realize how important self-care is? Our bodies always have a way of telling us when we're doing too much or, you know, not looking after ourselves enough. So self-care is really, really important. I've just added a few quotes here. So the first one is by Solange, who is Beyonce's sister. And she said that when you take care of yourself, you're a better person for others. And when you feel good about yourself, you treat others better. Audre Lorde, famous poet, said, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. Norm Kelly said, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. And I'm here to tell you that self-care is not selfish. And how can it be? How can it be selfish when ultimately self-care is about making sure our cup is filled up so that we have enough to give to others? How many of us find it so easy to pour into others or to help others or to be there for others? And when it comes to ourselves, it's a little bit more challenging. We might feel a bit guilty for having a lazy day on the sofa. I used to, before I used to prioritize and work on my well-being, I used to feel guilty for rest. Imagine that, when rest is actually the key to keeping going with this work. So we're going to have a look at the self-care wheel. I didn't create this. It was created by the Olga Phoenix Project, Healing for Social Change, in 2013. And it's available on Google. So if you Google self-care wheel, it's available. There's different variations of it. But this is the one that really resonates with me. So the wheel has 6 segments on it. So each segment has a heading. So there's psychological, emotional, spiritual, personal, professional, and physical well-being. And within each of those segments, they say things like, for psychological, it's got self-reflection, therapy, self-awareness, um, joining a support group, thinking about your positive qualities, practice asking and receiving help. Emotional has things like affirmations, self-love, self-compassion, saying I love you to yourself, watching a funny movie, buying yourself a present, telling yourself you're gorgeous and practicing forgiveness. Spiritual is about self-reflection, going into nature, finding a spiritual community, meditation, singing, dancing, um, volunteering. Personal is more about learning about who you are and finding out what you want in life, planning short and long-term goals, making a vision board, connecting with friends, um, going on dates. Those dates could be dates with yourself, um, writing a poem, spending time with your friends, family, chosen family, learning to play an instrument. Professional is saying things like taking time for lunch, setting boundaries, leaving work at work, not doing work during your time off, getting, you know, regular supervision if you can, learning to say no. Uh, Many times in my life, I've been a yes person where I've just said yes to a lot of things and not setting those boundaries. But I've noticed that through setting boundaries, I've been able to just not be overwhelmed and take on too much. Even working from home, it's so easy to just keep working throughout the day and not have a kind of set pattern for work. And, I've been known to check my emails at 11 o'clock at night and not have regular lunch breaks and things like that. And what this wheel does, it reminds me of things that, I often forget about. Like being intentional about self-care is really, really important. Often every day I ask myself what did I do for my self-care today? At the end of each day, I ask myself that just so that I can reflect and think, oh, actually, if I haven't done anything for my self-care that day, I might just have a cup of tea and sip it slowly and notice the taste and stuff like that and take time out for that. The final segment here on this wheel is physical well-being, and that's about eating healthy, whatever that means to you, exercising or physical activity, getting enough sleep. Sleep is a massive one for me. I know that if I don't get enough sleep and I'm tired and I'm just not a nice person to be around when I haven't had enough sleep. Um, Taking time off, taking walks in nature, turning off the cell phone, just, having that healthy life balance. I think this sometimes can look really overwhelming because you could think, oh my gosh, I've got to take care of all of this, all of my well-being. But I actually use this wheel as like a reminder to look after myself, a reminder of things that I probably used to do for my self-care that don't work anymore, and then finding new things that work. Like even looking at this right now, it's reminded me that I really love playing my instrument that I bought during lockdown. It's called a handpan. It brings me joy, even though I'm not the best at playing it. I'm learning, and I like the way it makes me feel when I play it. So it's reminded me that actually I need to dust off that instrument and bring it out because it made me feel really nice when I played it. So this has been quite a nice reminder, actually. So we'll just have a minute just to reflect on this wheel. I hope it's given you some ideas of what you can do for your own self-care and well-being, just to keep yourself going, really. So the next slide, the next thing I'd like you to do is to go back to the self-care for me means writing prompt that you did at the beginning of this, and just have a look at what you wrote and see if you want to add anything or take anything away. If there's anything that's you've kind of reflected on or anything that you want to add, I'm just going to add 2 minutes on the timer here for you to just elaborate on, or you could just leave it just as it is. It might not need um any more attention to it at this point, but the choice is always yours. So 2 minutes starts now. 30 seconds left. It'll be so interesting to hear what you've written at this point. Um, yeah. And what you've done is by taking part in this workshop, you've actually gained an additional tool, which is writing for self-care, journaling for self-care, taking time out of your day to sit down with a pen and paper or a laptop or notes on your phone or something, just to write down anything you like, you know. For me, writing has been really therapeutic. And also, looking at this self-care wheel, I've got it printed out. I have it on my wall, and I look at it almost every day. It's on a place where I can see it, and it's a reminder for me to look after myself. I'm going to end this workshop with a poem called "The Time Is Now." I call it like my well-being poem. Um, I kind of recognized it as my well-being poem long after I wrote it, actually. It's called The Time Is Now. When someone asks you the time, don't round it up or down. It's not nearly or almost anything. Just say the time is now. I'm doing what's right for me now. I'm working on making good food choices now. I'm checking in with how I feel now. I'm working on my happiness now. I'm nurturing my mind, body, and soul now. I'm prioritizing how I use my time now. I'm seeking the professional help I need now. I'm connecting with my readers now. When you are asked for the time, don't round it up or down. It's time to take care of yourself. When? Now. Exactly. Now. Thank you so much for spending these 30 minutes with me. I hope you have gained a better insight into what self-care is and why it's important. And most importantly, just to recognize that self-care is not selfish. Thank you so much. I'm Andreena Leeanne. Feel free to connect with me. I'm Andreena Leeanne on LinkedIn, Facebook, on Instagram. I am andreena.leanne.speaker. And you can also find me on my website, which is www.andreena.co.uk. Thank you so, so much. And I hope you have a lovely rest of the day. Take care. Take care. Bye.